I started today by cutting some MDF as underlayment for the countertop on the built-in cabinets I recently finished. And I thought it was the perfect opportunity to use this parallel track saw guide from Enjoy Wood. Like everything I've received so far from Enjoy Wood, this track saw guide is high quality, well made, and functions exactly how I would expect it to. If you're in the market for a parallel track saw guide and you want premium quality at a reasonable price, I would definitely check this one out. That underlayment is cut and installed. Now I'm going to start the project that I'm actually going to build today. And here I'm using the track saw how I usually use it, which is without a parallel guide, and I'm just cutting these plywood pieces to their rough dimensions. And then I'll take those smaller, more manageable size pieces to the table saw and cut them to their final dimensions. This is one of my favorite parts of the project. I'm going to be laying out all my joinery, where my dowels are going to go and how my pieces are going to go together. And you just shut the machines off, no noise, no sawdust, no nothing, just looking at my plan and laying out on my pieces here. For instance, this piece here is my fixed shelf. I'm using white birch plywood for this. It has a little bit thinner veneer than Baltic birch, so sometimes I do get some tear out. So on this piece, this one edge back here has some tear out, so I want to try to hide that if I can. So I label this as the back bottom. So I know when I put my cabinet together, that will be at the back, that will be at the bottom. It's never going to be seen. This is all going to be painted anyway, so you probably wouldn't see it regardless, but it just helps a little bit. So as far as layout goes on this piece, I know I'll reference the top of the shelf with my dowel jig, and I'll just drill dowel holes in the sides. And then of course I'll drill corresponding holes in the tall sides of my cabinets. This is a new cabinet for our laundry room. It's going to be really simple. It's just going to have two sides, a top and a bottom, and a fixed shelf right about there, about 40 inches up from the bottom. In this space here, I'll drill holes for shelf pins, and I'll have an adjustable shelf in there. On the right side of the shelf here, there'll be a cleat that'll support this long shelf, and then there'll be another cleat on the wall over here. This bottom is extended past the back, so if this cabinet is just shoved all the way back, the bottom piece will slide under the dryer vent and hit the wall and stop it from smashing that dryer vent. If you have two pieces that are going to be a mirror image of each other, like the sides of my cabinet here, it's a good idea to clamp them together and do the layout on both pieces at the same time. It's faster to do it this way, but more importantly, it's more accurate. The little layout square I'm using here was also sent to me from Enjoy Wood. It has different holes and notches in the blade to do different layouts. It has two different angles built in. One side, of course, is 90 degrees, and then the other side has a built-in 1:8 ratio, which is used for laying out dovetails. The square also comes with the mechanical pencil I'm using here. It has a built-in sharpener for the thick lead that it uses. It also came with a small storage box that has 18 additional leads in it, which, as far as I can tell, is practically a lifetime supply. It was right about here I realized the brightness setting on my camera was turned way down. That's why everything was looking really dark. So I turned it up, and I turned it up a little too much. So the rest of this video is going to be pretty bright. I'm still kind of an amateur when it comes to videoing and editing, so I appreciate you bearing with me. I'm using the stainless steel Jessamine doweling jig to do all my joinery for this cabinet. If you've watched my channel, you know I really like the Jessamine doweling jigs. I have the stainless steel version and the original master kit. I love both of these jigs, and if you're interested in them, I have videos on how to use them properly and how to get the most out of them. The yellow riser plate I'm using is one in a set of 4 from Unique Wood Tools. They are designed and manufactured by a small company here in the United States, and I consider them a must-have accessory if you have the stainless steel Jessamine doweling jig. Go to uniquewoodtools.com to pick up your riser set and check out all the other products they have. So that should be it for all the dowels. I'm gonna go ahead and do a dry fit. Then I'll disassemble it. I'm gonna tape off where I want glue to go, and then I will paint the pieces before final assembly. And for the dry fit, you don't need a dowel in every single location. These little handheld dusters are really cool to have. I actually have 2 of them, and I use them every single day that I'm working in the shop. I clean out my computers or other electronics with them. I'll blow dust out of the bed of my truck or the cab. Stop wasting money on canned air or having to fire up your air compressor every time you want to clean something off. Get yourself one of these and you'll be set. While I'm doing this dry fit, I'm thinking about what order I want to assemble this cabinet in when I actually have glue on here. I'm limited on the length of clamps I have, so I know it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but if I do things in the right order, it'll work out. Looks really good for a dry fit. Once glue and everything is on this, I'll square everything up before I clamp it down. Now here I'm taping off all the glue surfaces that I don't want to get paint on. I want these surfaces to stay bare wood so I get a really good bond with my glue. I've seen this done before, but I've never tried it myself. And the idea is it's a lot easier to finish these pieces while they're laying flat on your bench as opposed to a fully assembled cabinet. It makes a lot of sense and it seems to work for other people, so I thought I'd give it a shot. And one final quick dusting before I start painting. Now if I had glued up this cabinet and painted it after assembly, most likely I would drag my sprayer out, set this up outside on a drop cloth, spray the whole thing, then I have to clean my sprayer. It's a lot to do for one small cabinet. I think this method was a lot easier and it's something I'll use in the future. Especially since I did 3 coats of paint on each side over the course of 2 days. I really do think doing it this way was superior to using my sprayer. And now it's time to play Tetris with my clamps. I have clamps clamping onto other clamps. It's kind of ridiculous, but it works out. This is some 1/8 inch thick scrap poplar I had lying around, and it makes perfect edge banding. I had some face frame pieces left over from building my built-in entertainment center, and they worked great for the shorter pieces of this face frame, but I didn't have any long enough to do the long vertical pieces on this cabinet. So I rip a couple strips off of this 12-foot poplar board. Not only to make those face frame pieces, but also to make the front and back edging of my long shelf. Glue and clamps will hold these pieces on just fine. No need for fasteners. I didn't realize that some of these pieces were slightly thicker than the others until after I glued them on. No problem really, a couple of swipes with a number 5 plane, and they're looking great. I quickly put a chamfer on the inside and outside edge of my face frame. I also chamfer the edge banding on my shelves to give everything a cohesive look. And of course, all those pieces I just applied need a couple coats of paint, and then the cabinet itself needed some touch up here and there. This piece of 1/4 inch plywood will be the back of the cabinet. I'm only putting a back on the upper section above the fixed shelf. I want the back of the larger bottom section of the cabinet to remain open. And that'll give me easy access to the dryer hookups, both the vent and the electrical. This back piece will really help stiffen up the cabinet, keep it from racking, and hold it square. And of course the back piece, like everything else, needs some sanding and a few coats of paint. I love these Japanese pull saws. You saw me use the really small, flexible, flush trim one earlier. This one's obviously much larger for cross-cutting material. I have a few of these in different configurations for different tasks, and they're all great. These are the trim pieces for the large shelf, and the first thing I do is square up one edge. Then I flush those edges up, clamp them together, and cut the front and the back piece to length at the same time. So here I'm gluing up the front edge of the shelf. Now the front and the back are going to be offset, meaning the front piece is going to be flush with the top and hang down below the bottom, while the back piece will be flush with the bottom and stick up above the top. That way the back trim piece will create a little wall in the back and it'll help prevent stuff from being pushed off the back of the shelf. But because of this, I have to attach these in 2 separate glue ups. And again, just glue and clamps, no fasteners. This will be plenty strong. And this shelf is 55 inches wide. There's going to be no support underneath it in the middle. So having the trim pieces on the front and the back will really help stiffen this up and give it the strength it needs. Then I just square the cabinet up and attach the back with 1-inch staples. And here's the finished product installed. That new long shelf is going to give us a lot more storage in here. Then having this adjustable shelf is going to add some functionality. And then the open back on the bottom of the shelf gives me clear access to the dryer hookups, and it's going to allow me to clean out that dryer vent on a more regular basis. So that's it for this one. Whether you're building something for form or function, I hope you're able to get into your shop today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.